Oh, Mansory, why do you ruin so many cars? Anyway, welcome back to Deep Dive. We're going to look today at my Mansory collection from the 2023 Musical Garage Tour, which is linked below just in case you've not seen it. As always, we'll look at any crew colours involved, effectively some builder's notes on the car, and a little bit about the real car that inspired it. Well, talking of inspiration, I'm not very sure what does inspire Mansory, but here are a few of the headlines that you get when you typically read about Mansory cars. Mansory completely ruined these 10 cars. Not even COVID can stop Mansory from ruining luxury cars. Mansory ruins the MC20. Okay, I think you get the idea. Mansory seems to make fairly tasteless cars for people who embrace excess above what most of us who like cars call taste. To balance this out, there are a couple of good things. Number one is some things that Mansory do are subtle, and we'll see some examples of that as we go through the garage. And the second is that even through the madness, I mean, what do so many people like to do with cars in GTA? Make something a little bit mad. And if you like real world cars and you want something a bit mad, make a Mansory car and you got yourself covered. Rockstar obviously look at Mansory for inspiration for some of the cars. We can see from some of the parts they offer, and that's great. So I'm going to show you 10 I've been able to make. Well, sort of 11, because this Ferrari Roma by Mansory was not available in game when my garage tour was filmed, so I put it in the intro and the outro for the 11th. The Ferrari 812 Superfast has been turned into the Stallone, and this is all carbon bodied and tuned up, and I actually think it looks pretty good. I mean, it's a bit wild. I don't know if I'd do it if I had a real 812, but it looks okay. They also do the soft kit, which is if you want your 812 not to look visually ruined at all. That's nice and subtle. It's just the performance upgrades. And you can also have your GTS or your open top done. Now, I know it can be a bit hoppy, but the Itali GTO is one of my favourite cars in game, and given that it has quite a few visual differences with the 812, I'm really very happy to pump it up a little bit as the Stallone. Well, I said some of the cars that Mansory do are a bit more subtle, and I think the next one, the Rolls-Royce Wraith, is just that. I really like the colour scheme on it. It's two-toned in the way that many Wraiths are factory two-toned anyway. The wheels are fairly subtle, and I think that it makes this Windsor into a really decent looking car. I forgot to mention I do have a review of the Itali GTO. I'll link below. I also have a comparison of all 5 Rolls-Royces in the game, which of course includes this Wraith, and again that will be below. And whilst we're on self-promotion, the Deity, I have a full review. I know it's back in the gaming microphone days, but it's a nice build. You might like to take a look at that one as well. This is one of my favourite saloon or sedan cars in the game, I have to say. I think it drives really well and it looks so close to the real car. I love these later cars where Rockstar decided not to worry so much about how close they got to the real looks. I was really thrilled to find the little red bits of livery in the game that Rockstar took directly from Mansory, and that really encouraged me to make the Mansory car here. And I think it looks okay. It looks pretty decent, but to be perfectly honest with you, I prefer the way I have it built in the video link below. I prefer the build that I have on it now. I just think that the car deserves more interesting colours than black. The Novak, based on the Maserati Levante, is a very good driving SUV in the game. It's difficult though to find interesting builds on it, and I think that's where this Mansory one scores really nicely. I built the orange one last year, and so this year I decided they are bespoke cars. You can have what you want, so it's pretty much the same build, but I just picked this luxurious dark blue, which I think suits it really, really nicely. Moving on now then to, I think, what is the largest and most visually imposing vehicle in the garage. It is hard to build, actually, the Mansory version of the Merc G63 6x6 because they often have them in sort of like a blue camouflage or something like that. And perhaps because this is an older and cheaper car in the game, those sort of finishes are simply not available. In fact, the car has very little visual customization from what I remember. So I went for one of the more subtle ones, and then a nice finish was easy to achieve by using a metal in the game. So I think it came out okay. I finally found a picture of something with a more unique colour, so that's what the car is in now, and I'm sure you'll see that at some point. Sticking with a similar theme, we now move to the G-Class. This is based on the first generation Dubsta, the one you can just find all over the street. It's what they call their wide version of it. It doesn't particularly look any wider in the photographs. I'm not sure what wide means, but it was the excuse for a nice set of wheels and a cool colour on the vehicle. So not a bad way to actually store one of these if you've already stolen it. Mansory will of course do whatever you want to your Rolls-Royce Phantom, so for this diamond, I decided to go for this sort of pastely pink colour. Now, I will freely admit it's one I made up. I just thought it went quite well with the lemony coloured one that's actually on the photo. It was a similar sort of concept, and I just preferred that to the lemon colour. So that's where this one came from. Another car that you can't do a lot with in the game, but at least, again, it is fairly cheap. Or at least it is when you can get hold of it, because this is one of the cars that has been discontinued. Now, I don't think there's a massive reason to need one of these unless it completes a collection for you. But if you want one, put a note down below, and if I see it come back on sale, I will let you know. And of course, this also features in the Rolls-Royce video mentioned before. Next, we have the Huntley S as the Bentley Bentayga Feroza edition, and it's fair to say this is not for shy or retiring types. I think I got pretty close with the crew colour, and on the real car from memory that colour goes all over the inside. It's unbelievably vivid, but still I was glad to be able to sort of make this on a car that only sort of looks like the Bentayga in the first place, so not a bad one. But from that ridiculous excess we'll move down to something much more subtle, which is their version of the Tesla. It just included one or two add-on parts and a few streaks of bright colour, and overall, possibly the most tasteful car in this garage. I think we're all starting to realise that EVs are not the panacea of good. The cost of making them is often outweighing the saving in tailpipe emissions, but still they are very much the zeitgeist at the moment, and it makes it even stranger perhaps that Rockstar have decided to remove a very common EV from the game, but still they have the same deal. Put below if you want one, and I'll look out and come back and reply to you when they next come back for sale. This last one is so cute, but I got it by accident. I wanted one more Mansory car. I wanted it to be different to any other car that I owned, and I was really stuck. So I was perusing the Mansory website, looking at all the cars they do, trying to find one that was in-game that I didn't have, and up popped the Smart 4.2, which is of course the Panto in-game. So I rushed out and bought one, and it comes with all sorts of dinky little spoilers and bits and bobs. So you can actually make the Mansory one on this, and I think it looks absolutely lovely. I don't drive it obviously, but it certainly makes up number 10 very convincingly. Well, that completes those 10. Now they've all been rebuilt, so I don't have another one for the outro filming. So instead, with a little change of plan, let's have the Bentley Flying Spur Edition 12 in Radium Green. It looks absolutely superb. Any questions or comments, of course, leave them down below. Now, next week, it's supposed to be motorbikes. I did a Ducati collection. There was, of course, the bike shop. But I'll tell you, I'm not terribly enthused by the bikes. And then the week after is supposed to be the compacts. Now, I've got rid of tons of the bikes already, although I did make some notes before they went. And I've got rid of tons of the compacts already. So what I'm thinking of doing is, like the TV and movie collection, just take all 30 of those, bang them into no more than 10 minutes, just quickly explaining what they are, and whether I even kept them or not. But let me know down below, would you like a proper run through those garages, or like me, would you rather just get them out of the way fairly quickly so we can move on to the muscle cars, which I'm much keener to do. If you could see your way clear to hitting the like button, I would really appreciate that. Of course, subscribe if you like real cars in GTA, because we're just approaching 1,000, and I promised a video on my Lotus when we get to 1,000, which I haven't even started to film yet, but if you can flip the counter over, I'm much more likely to do that, I suspect. And after that terrible piece of bribery, I just wish to say thank you so much for watching.